Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar here today. We still have a lot of people joining. I see attendees coming in every couple of seconds here. So we're going to take just another 30 seconds or so for people to continue to join and get on audio, and then we will go ahead and get underway. So bear with us here for another moment, and we will start very shortly. All right, I think people are continuing to join, but we will go ahead and get started anyway here, as we've got a lot to cover here this morning. Welcome to our session here today, entitled Introducing Real-Time SIS LMS Integration, focusing on our partnership with Ellucian and on the topic of integration. So we're going to start just by looking at the agenda, introduce briefly who all will be speaking today, and then we'll get right into the meat of our session here today. I will say up front before we get into the agenda here that we will, as you see, leave time at the end for questions and answers. If you have those as we go here today, please use the questions pane in the GoToWebinar interface. There's also a chat. Don't use that. We don't really pay attention to that. But the questions pane, you can drop your questions anytime you have them, and we will circle back to those at the end. We'll leave plenty of time to ask your questions and give you some answers, hopefully, when we get to the end. So we're going to begin, as I said, just by introducing who we all are, including myself. Then we're going to talk just a little bit about what Moodle's all about, for those of you who may be unfamiliar, and what our approach is here at eThink, who we are, what we do, to build some context for the topic here this morning. Then we're going to move right into demoing our integration and talk about some of the new things we're doing in that regard. That'll be the focus of our session here today and the majority of our time. So we will get to that here very shortly. Just to introduce who all on the eThink team is here today. I'm Josh Mitchell. I am the Vice President of Sales here at eThink. I'm going to start off with the sort of context building that I just referenced. From there, I'm going to introduce and turn it over to Cheryl Pitsevos, who is our COO, one of our co-founders. She's going to do some demoing of our integration here today. And then from there, we will introduce Jesse Safran, who's our senior technical analyst, and he's going to talk specifically about some of the new things we're doing with Ethos in how we are integrating SISs with Ethos. So that is sort of the flow of what we're going to do here today. As I said, I want to start just with some context. For those of you who may not be familiar with Moodle, I think we do have some folks here that are using other learning management systems. They're probably Ellucian customers, but maybe using another LMS. Moodle is the most widely used LMS in the world. The most current statistic there is 181 million learners. I just pulled that this morning. Every time we do this, that number bumps up a little bit. It's so widely used because it is open source, first and foremost, and that makes it a very low cost of entry for many colleges and universities, for example, that use it. Because it can be freely downloaded and then installed and configured locally. What we find, though, is that there are many colleges that have come to us over the years that began using Moodle because it was free and because they could have their IT run it, but then they don't necessarily do it as well. They don't implement it as well as they would like. They have a difficult time just keeping up with what's new and different functionality-wise. And so that's why we have this bullet here on the bottom, best to be deployed by experts. That's really who we are at eThink. We have a team of experts that use Moodle every day and help our clients to really take advantage of it and optimize it on their campus. So it's a very flexible, very robust platform, but it really, if you're going to take best advantage of that flexibility and the robust functionality it offers, then it does make sense to use an expert, and that is who we are, as I said, here at eThink. So just talking a little bit about who we are, where we've come from, and what we do. We've been in this business for over 12 years. As I said, Cheryl, who's going to speak next, is one of our co-founders. She actually came from Ellucian. So we began this business over 12 years ago with a real focus on integrations, which is going to be our focus here today. So that's a real core aspect of what we do here at eThink is we have a lot of expertise in this area. And really probably the most robust and powerful integrations in the Moodle market today. So we're going to circle back and talk a lot about that. We are a certified Moodle partner. In fact, we are newly designated as a certified premium Moodle partner, which is a subset of Moodle partners. Right now, there are only 3 in the world. We are one of them who are authorized to provide the new Moodle Workplace product, which we're not going to talk about here today. That's a new sort of iteration of Moodle, introducing some additional features and functionality. If that is something you're interested in, you can let us know, and we can talk about that offline. But really, we received that designation because of the quality work that we do, because of the reputation that we have in this market. What really distinguishes us, what makes us unique, is this notion of full management. So that is a very unique approach among Moodle partners and Moodle providers. It's a very service-heavy approach. So really what we do is we handle everything on the back end of the software for our clients. We have many clients that implement Moodle for the first time and don't have any expertise at all in how to set up or how to configure or how to sort of manage the software on the back end. That's what we do for our clients. We're an extension of our clients' teams, really responsible for Moodle. And then they focus on their front-end considerations, their students, their users, their courses, their content, and we provide some training, as I'll talk about here shortly, to really understand how to use the system and make the most of it, but we handle everything on the back end. We take a very consultative approach. So if for us to be successful as a business, and we've been in this business, as I said, over 12 years, and have retained a 99% retention rate among our clients over that time, we need to both get people on Moodle and keep them there. And so one of the things that we do is really continually work with our clients to look at what more are they trying to get out of the system? What can we improve? So a very consultative approach to try to make sure that Moodle is optimally configured to meet our clients' needs. That's really what we try to do. For those who may be considering a migration either to Moodle or from another Moodle provider or from having self-hosted to us, we have very defined processes for discovery and implementation. So we've successfully implemented more than 200 clients in the last 4 years or so. And so we have very tried and true processes for doing that to make sure that it's a smooth transition to our services. Hosting is kind of the easy part of what we do. You see that on the screen here. We host with Amazon Web Services. It's a very scalable, very reliable environment. So we don't talk a whole lot more about that on these kinds of sessions because it is just kind of, like I said, the easy part of what we do. Some more detail on some of the services that we provide. So full management, what's sort of included under that? Well, as I said, it really includes everything on the back end of the system. But some specific examples of that. We handle the theme, the underlying theme that our clients use. When we bring a new client on, we show them what some of their options are in that regard. And then we do all of the configuration of that theme, apply their branding, their logos, and whatnot. And we do that over the life of our relationship with our clients. So when somebody wants to change the look and feel, they come back to us and they say, hey, we want to implement a new theme. We want to change the way this looks. And we work with them to do that again as part of our service model, not for an additional charge. So that'll be a theme of what I talk about here this morning, is that our model is very inclusive. These things that we do are part of our support model. We don't charge extra to do these things. That includes, for example, customizable reporting, which is a huge value add that our clients have found when they move to us. Is we've created hundreds of customizable custom reports over the years for our clients that we make available to new clients. We can tweak those, build new reports. Really, anything that can be queried out of the system, we can build reports for our clients to meet their needs. And that is something, again, that we do as part of support. The same is true of roles. We'll talk about a custom report that we use as part of our integration here shortly, for example. I've talked about training as part of what we do. We have a number of training courses that our team has developed and that we maintain and update every time our clients upgrade. And I should point out that we keep our clients on separate code bases so that our clients can upgrade when they want to. All of our clients have different academic calendars, different windows of time that can facilitate an upgrade. And so we're able to do that according to their calendar, their needs and preferences. So when they do that, we have new versions of our training courses that we provision to them that highlight what's new and what's different in that newest version above and beyond what they're used to. So it's not only an initial training proposition, but also an ongoing continuous training proposition by way of our courses. And we also do a lot of instructor-led training with our clients, for example. We're going to talk about this here in relation to integration, but we are agnostic in terms of the kinds of plugins and modules that our clients can use. Our policy is we'll install and configure plugins and modules at no additional cost. We don't have a sort of predefined list that we allow. If somebody brings us something that's new that we haven't taken a look at before, which is pretty rare. We go and we take a look at it. We make a recommendation around, yep, this looks like it's well supported. We'll go ahead and install this for you. Or perhaps sometimes somebody has found something that's not well supported. And our advice to them is, we're not sure you want to use this. But ultimately, we install and configure those at no cost as part of our model. Really, at the end of the day, what we hang our hat on, I'm going to circle back here to integrations, which is the focus of our session, is the level of service that we provide. And just to give you, as I talk about some statistics, I'll put this on the screen. These are some quotes from our clients that I think really illuminate what our clients' experience is in taking advantage of our support model. Our approach is unlimited support. So it's full management, it's unlimited support. When clients put in a ticket, our average response time over the last year has been well under, we've always said it's under an hour. It's actually been about 41 minutes over the last year. So if our client puts in a ticket that they need something, our team is responding to them, a human response in that average of 41 minutes. And then close to half of those tickets are actually resolved with a single touch. So obviously it depends on the complexity. Sometimes if somebody wants a very complex custom report, for example, that takes a little time to put together. But that just gives you a feel for how quickly we respond, how quickly we often resolve things. That is really what makes us unique and makes us special. And that's why, as I said earlier, we can say we have a 99% client retention rate over the years that we've been in business. So all of that being said, I want to bring our focus here now to integration, which is really the focus of our session here, and we'll occupy most of what we talk about from here. On this slide, I'm just going to kind of talk about some of what we can do with integration. I will point out, I think most everybody here today is an Ellucian customer, either using Banner or perhaps Power Campus or Colleague. We are an Ellucian partner. So we, I believe, are the only Moodle partner that's also an Ellucian partner. That is something that we're very proud of and is very unique. That's why we're able to talk about here today as we progress what we're doing with Ethos. We've been integrating with the Ellucian products, even without Ethos, however, for years. As I said, Cheryl is one of our co-founders, came from Ellucian. So this was, when we began the business, really a focus was integrating very tightly with student information systems. And I will point out, even though we're talking about Ellucian here, this is an agnostic integration that we're able to do with student information systems. So if you're not an Ellucian user, if you use something else, Genzabar, or SIS if you're in the UK, or any number of other student information systems or student management systems, if that's the term that you use. These different things that we're able to do that I'm going to talk about and then that Cheryl's going to show, we've done these with all of the LMSs that are really in use in higher education today, in particular in the US. So this is generally a real-time integration. It works, and Cheryl's going to talk more about this, over as a direct connection over an IPsec VPN. Most commonly, what we're able to do is pull over courses and enrollments in real time. It syncs upon a student's login. So if a student drops one course, adds another course, and then they log into Moodle, it is immediately reflecting their most up-to-date listing of courses. Some of the other things then that we're able to do just beyond that real basic, it sounds basic, but that's the most important thing for most of our clients is, or what leads to the most common area of complaint is when that is not the case. Some of the other things we're able to do is also have grades and attendance entered in Moodle and sent back to the student information system. Not all of our clients do that, but for those that do, it's just an added convenience factor for their faculty. We're also able to handle cross-listed and cross-tallied courses. So if you have on the student information side courses that are listed both as Humanities 201 and History 201 or something like that, the integration recognizes that those are cross-listed and merges them into a single course shell on the Moodle side. And it knows to be able to send grades and attendance back to the appropriate place on the SIS side. So that is a real time saver for clients that use a lot of cross-listed and cross-tallied courses, not having to manually create meta courses on the Moodle side. I talked about how we have a custom role we've created that is part of our integration as well. What we've done there over the years is it's been a very common need set that our clients want to give some level of access to certain courses, for example, to department chairs. But it's cumbersome to have to every term give that read-only access to Joe department chair for every course in his department. So what we've done is we've created a custom role and then a mapping screen where our clients are able to basically map a particular person to all courses with a certain prefix, for example, so that every time a new term is created and the new course shells are created, that level of access, this delegate or observer level of access, which is read-only access, is given to all of those courses in that prefix. So that's just a big time saver. As I said, that's a theme of what we've done here with integration, is save a lot of manual effort. That is something that a lot of our clients take advantage of. And finally, the last part of this that I'll mention is this notion of a non-academic course integration. So what this is essentially something doesn't exist in the SIS. It's, let's say, a faculty-related, not a course, but some sort of faculty committee, or a chapel course for some of our clients that are religious in orientation. And what we want to do is use some business logic to drive the enrollments into those. So it could be an orientation, for example, where we want to say every student that is a freshman or a new transfer student should be enrolled into this orientation course, but that orientation course doesn't exist on the SIS side. But what we're able to do is read those criteria from the SIS to drive them into that course on the Moodle side. And there's a variety of ways that our clients use those. So again, what that's doing is leveraging the integration to save time in driving enrollments into those kinds of courses. So as I said, this is an agnostic integration. We've done this with many different SISs. Our focus here today is going to be on Ellucian, as I said, but this is agnostic. It's also highly configurable. So these different elements that I've talked about, we have clients that use all of these. We have clients that use only some of these. We have clients that start out with only some of these and then add something over time. And that's all okay. We're able to do that whatever the needs and preferences of our clients are. So I've gone through giving the overview here today and what we want to do next. I'm going to, I think, stop sharing my screen and transfer the presenter over to Cheryl, as I'll introduce Cheryl Pitsevos, who I said is our COO, and is going to show this integration here next.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Nice to be here today. Can everyone see my screen? Are we good there?
Yep, all good. I see it, Cheryl.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. So as Josh said, what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about the different types of integrations that we offer here at eThink. All of these are two Ellucian products, so we've worked extensively with Banner, Colleague, and Power Campus. As Josh said, I myself, as well as the other co-founder here at eThink, we're both former Ellucian employees, so we know quite a bit about these products. And it was sort of our first goal when we started eThink to create a tight integration between Moodle and the Ellucian products, because clearly we saw the benefit and the need to have a direct path of information coming out of the SIS and into Moodle in order to make that usable, scalable, and manageable for you on a daily basis. So what we have here, and what I'm going to talk about just briefly now, is what we call our direct connection option. And then after this, Jesse is going to speak a bit about our Ethos Connect option, which is one of our newer offerings in conjunction with the Ethos tool that Ellucian is now offering. We do also support and run some clients on the ILP. So if that is a tool that you have used or are interested in using with Ellucian, that's something that we can do as well. Much of what you see here are things that Josh just mentioned that are possible with our integrations. I'm just going to kind of show them to you so you can get an image in your head of what this will look like. So for example, what we have here on the screen is a list of courses that are being offered by a particular organization, and you can see each of the courses has a very detailed name. One of the things that we believe is that we should be able to build this name in any way that makes sense for how you use your student information system and how you want your students to see that course name. So what you see here is typically a combination of a course ID, a section number, and then some sort of year, term, and session type of academic calendar type classification. So you can see where that course is held, when it's being offered, and then you can see the full name of the course, making it meaningful, hopefully, to an administrator, a teacher, as well as a student. If you come down here, you can see what Josh mentioned. This is a cross-listed or a cross-tallied course, which would be a course that's being offered under 2 separate course IDs. So you can see that we're able to recognize that coming out of your student information system and create one combined course in Moodle with all the enrollments for what might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 courses that have been linked together in your student information system. And so that way, because to the instructor, that is one course that they are teaching at one time, they have one course shell in Moodle rather than having individual course shells. The other benefit with our cross-listed functionality that you'll see as we go on is Josh mentioned that we have grades and attendance posting that goes back from Moodle back to the student information system. And we're able to sort of untangle the cross-listed course when we send those grades and attendance back and post them into the relevant course for the individual student. So sort of their course of record or their registered course. So that's a really nice feature as well. Courses that get loaded into the information into Moodle from your SIS are controlled on this page here that we call open course categories. So an administrator at your school has the ability to come in here at any time and see all of the individual year-term sessions, course categories, academic calendar entries that classify all of the different courses that you offer. And then simply by checking the box, they're able to indicate that those courses are set to move from the student information system into Moodle. So for most, particularly colleges and universities, but even different companies and organizations, there's a point in time where you're building a set of courses to be offered on an upcoming date. And when you're first building them, you probably don't want them going into Moodle because it's still a work in progress. You might be choosing which specific courses you're going to offer, what they're going to be called, who's going to teach them, and so on and so forth. And then at some point, you sort of call it probably as close as it's going to be to reality, and you're ready to publish that. And so at the point that you publish it, you check the box here, and those courses begin to load into Moodle as well. Certainly changes can be made after that date. So if you choose to cancel a course or combine 2 courses into a cross-listed course, that all updates automatically in Moodle. But you still have the control here over when they initially appear within Moodle from your student information system. The way that our integration works is it's a direct connection. So it is a real-time integration. The way that works is each time a user logs in, the enrollment information for that user is checked against your student information system. So for example, let's say you have a student who goes into the registrar's office and adds a course. They could walk right out of that registrar's office, access Moodle on their mobile device, and see the course immediately because when they log in, it will query your student information system and recognize that registration. Similarly, if they were to drop a course, it would disappear. And the same is true for an instructor. If an instructor is added to a course, they are immediately able to access that course within the student information system as well, within Moodle. This page that we're looking at here shows the status of what we call the nightly syncs. So we also typically run a full sync each night to update all enrollments and all course entries. So it's really a question of which comes first. If a user logs in, they would be added to a course. If they didn't log in, then the nightly sync would add them to the course. And so you can see here as an administrator, and this power would be given to someone, one of your Moodle administrators to be able to see this information. I can see when the syncs have run and if they completed successfully. You can also see here, so these two, the course sync and the enrollment sync, come from your student information system into Moodle, whereas the attendance export and the grades export go from Moodle back into your student information system. And you do have the ability to test and initiate those on here as well. So if you needed to do sort of an ad hoc posting of that information for any number of reasons, you can create that here. You can see if there are any concerns or issues, they appear here to allow you to kind of audit that information and ensure that things are posting correctly. We also have an observer integration. And this is part of our full integration with the student information systems as well. So typically this would be any type of person that you would like to have access to the course, but who's not an active participant in the course. So this could include a dean, a department chair, some sort of auditing administrative type person at your particular organization. The advantage here is that if you're just using Moodle plain, you don't have any ability to go in and say, I would like this individual to be placed into, let's say, all music courses. You would have to figure out some way to do that, mostly manually. But with our integration, you are able to say anyone in the student information system who is set up can have access to a particular set of courses. So you can see here, this person, who's the department chair of the English area, is going to be automatically put into any course that begins with the prefix ENGL. And you can have any sort of different combination of places where individuals will be placed. So you might have some people who should be in all courses. You can see that you have a VP of Enrollment Services here who has access to courses in certain categories. We're using the % sign here as a wildcard. So really you can create any type of different setup here where individuals are being assigned to groups of courses automatically so that they can review those courses and see how they look. For those of you who are familiar with Moodle, these people are placed into the other users area in a course. So they're not enrolled users, they are other users, meaning that they are not participants in the course. It would be our full enrollment integration that you could use to do the same thing, but to do it for enrolled users. So you might do that for any student, any teacher would be placed in using somewhat similar logic using the enrollment integration, and then this area is just for other users who might be outside of that. We do also offer what I call a non-academic course integration, which is courses that you might create in Moodle. For example, you might have a freshman orientation course, and what you can do is use that integration to recognize all freshmen coming out of the student information system and automatically place them into this freshman orientation course. Or for example, all instructors could be automatically placed into a Moodle 101 course where they review how to use Moodle and learn to use Moodle using Moodle. Or you might take all math students and place them into the math club course in Moodle. So those are courses that don't exist in your student information system, but do exist in Moodle, and that you want to be able to use logic selecting groups out of your student information system to place them into enrolled in courses in Moodle. Now I mentioned that we also have information that goes from Moodle back to the student information system, specifically grades and attendance. For grades, what our functionality does is it posts midterm and final grades from Moodle back to the student information system. The benefit here is that your teachers often, are in Moodle on a daily basis. They are, creating activities and grading assignments and reviewing quiz work. And frequently, they're not in your student information system on a daily basis. Even if that student information system has a portal, like most solution products do, that portal is sometimes something that they're not terribly familiar with. So rather than having to walk them through logging into that interface to enter midterm or final grades, we've created the ability for those grades to be entered directly into Moodle, and then they post automatically back to the student information system. This logic respects all of the rules that you may have already in place for how grades can be posted. So for example, grades can only be entered during a certain period of time. This respects that. So if you attempted to enter a final grade before the final grading period, you would not be allowed to do so. If you attempted to enter a final grade after the final grading period had ended, you would not be allowed to do so. You can only enter a midterm or a final grade here once. If you need to make a grade change, that requires a manual conversation, whatever process your school may have. Typically there's a form or some sort of additional paperwork that's required for a grade change. We're able to show grade scales here that reflect the grade scales that you've defined at your school. So, and the individual grade school that a student has registered for. So for example, if a student was taking the course for pass-fail, the credit type that you see here on the screen would indicate that it was pass-fail, and these drop-downs would reflect the different grades for the pass-fail grading scale. If your school has a credit type for graduate students that's only A, B, and C, that would be defined here. It would pull the credit type that the student has registered to take the class with from your student information system, and then show the appropriate grade options in the drop-down here. So it's pretty smart, and it really tries to take into account all of the things that we know that Ellucian has built into their products to create the student information system as a system of record, and to respect and honor those while giving you the convenience of doing some of those functions in Moodle. The same is true for attendance. I don't have a screen for attendance, but basically there's an ability in Moodle to take daily attendance. We're able to define the attendance values, so present, absent, late, whatever your particular organization may use. And then those can post back to your student information system as well, so that way you have daily attendance information accessible for reporting in the SIS that you may be combining with other pieces of data for early alert or retention reporting. But the convenience of allowing your instructors to enter that directly within Moodle, where they may be to do other functions on a daily basis. So all that having been said, that's kind of a quick overview of what some of our direct integration does. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to Jesse. He's going to talk a little bit about the ethos integration, which has a lot of the same functionality, but also has the benefit of using the latest and the greatest ethos logic coming out of Ellucian.
Thanks, Cheryl. Hopefully everybody can see my screen okay. This will be relatively quick because you're going to see a lot of the same functionality that we just talked about with the traditional, if you will, eThink integration. So we went down the ethos road about a year ago now to partner with one of our schools who uses Colleague. And specifically, they were using Unidata, which makes it as their backend database, which makes it a little bit harder as far as doing a direct database connection. So we started to work through this process. Our goal here was to basically mirror the same functionality as you saw in the integration that Cheryl showed, but do it in pieces. Basically start with the base functionality, which is pulling in your courses and your users and that type of information into the enrollments as well. And then start working towards making it real time, and then start working on the grades integration, the observers, and things of that sort. So at this point in time, what you're seeing is the information is being pulled in on a cron-based sync about every 4 hours to create the courses and do the enrollments. But as you're looking at the screen here, our terms are looking very much the same. The school wanted to have each individual category based on the name of the term and the year, and then bringing all the course information in. Just like our integration, you're seeing with Ethos that we can do cross-listed courses and create those naming structures in very much the same way as Cheryl showed. Also, pulling in the student and teachers in the same way. Everything looks exactly the same at this point. We're pulling in information, making sure it gets into your courses, and they can go in and start to take their tests. Teachers can obviously create content as needed. Where you're going to see some differences here is in the configuration itself. This is a little more self-contained than going in and having the checkboxes to select your different terms and those pieces of information. And the reason being is that with the Ethos integration and the way that the data comes from the API endpoints, it's cleaner to know exactly what terms you're pulling in before you pull them in to the site. Whereas we can reach out in the database and grab, okay, here's all the available 20 2020 to 2022, or backwards if you need to, and put that into a SQL command. It was more straightforward to reach directly into the sections if you had that date. So in this case, you're looking right here about mid-screen, we put the filter in manually. And this will be a screen that your admin would have access to. You put these in, comma separated, as many of them as you want, as little of them you want, and it'll pull them in. Another difference between this integration and our traditional one is that we did add the functionality to go ahead and create users as we see them come in. Traditionally, most schools will have us connect to an LDAP server or use a separate plugin to pull in the information about the users from the database. With the API, and especially once you move towards the real-time aspect of it, for those of you familiar with Ethos, there is a endpoint, a consume endpoint that basically shows every change as it happens, depending on if you have a subscription to it, that happens within the SIS. So if I subscribe to the users and every change that happens to the users, I need to be able to consume that in real time, because once it's past my window, I can't get that information until I do a manual pull to go out and reach them. So a user gets added to a course, you want to see that in real time. We need the ability to create them if you want that type of functionality. So we do have this ability. We have the ability to put in whatever auth types are currently enabled on the site. So if you're using an SSO, that would be in this drop-down box. You can select that. It's going to make sure that your users are created with the right auth type to be able to log in as soon as that change happens or as soon as they're added to your SIS. That being said, this will be functionality coming. It's in beta right now. You're looking at the beta test that we're working on. We're starting to consume this information in real time. And we're very, 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 very close to having it. What the one holdup that we are seeing is just making sure that that connection stays up the way that we want it to all the time, and how to recover from any types of errors with the API. So if it's not actually consuming anything, it needs to stop. Hold up for a second, wait until the endpoints catch up, and then start to consume it again. So we're really, really close with that, and ready to move that into like our final testing of beta and then go live with it. The rest of the functionality that you are looking at here is very much the same as Cheryl already showed. We can start to filter things out. I wanted to be able to filter it out by instructional methods. So we have added that into this screen. We can continue to add functionality as needed to meet your needs in the way that we pull courses and information. We can use templates as well, whatever format for your courses based on start dates, end dates, or and other information. So very much, the same scene is we move into more and more functionality coming into Ethos, which is coming at us fast and furious at this point. Ellucian is really doing a job of developing it from our aspect and being able to see the data. We're going to continue to see functionality grow into Moodle and what we'll be able to do with this.
Jesse, that's great. I will just
Josh,
add one.
That puts it back to you.
Yeah, excellent. I was going to say, Jesse mentioned early on as he was showing this that what you're seeing here is colleague, and that's basically because we have colleague clients, in particular colleague Unity clients, that have been asking for this, that have been pushing for this. So the work that we've done so far has been in colleague. We have many banner clients, but we haven't had banner clients that have requested to go this route yet. So if that happens to be you, if you're a banner user that's either our client or a prospective client, and you want to take a look at this, I know Jesse is waiting in the wings to test this with banner. So just let us know. I think what we want to do next. First, I'm going to pull up my screen again here as I'm chatting, and just put the contact information on the screen. Is just want to use the rest of the time that we have to take your questions. We've got a couple of questions that have come in. There we are. Now I've got the contact information on the screen. If you have additional questions, you can put them in the questions pane again here in GoToWebinar. That's where we will see them, and that's where we can read them and discuss them here live. One question that has come in, and Cheryl or Jesse, I'm not sure which of you want to address this, but there's a question about, and I'm going to generalize it, but there's a question about basically cloud hosted student information systems. So most of our clients have their SIS hosted on-prem, but we are seeing more clients now that are having their SIS hosted in the cloud. So what I guess the way that I'll generalize it is, can you just talk about how that is different, how we approach cloud-hosted student information systems?
Yes, certainly. I know that Ellucian has a number of initiatives going on where they are offering hosted solutions for what previously has been 100% on-prem. So we have a couple different ways that we can do this, and it really depends on what the client is interested in. We have options where we can connect directly to the student information system in the cloud hosting. Sometimes that involves an IPsec VPN. Sometimes that involves sort of, exchange over an encrypted SSL type tunnel. Sometimes that involves an API, and that could be either the Moodle API, communicating directly with an API coming out of Banner, Colleague, or Power Campus, or that could be the Ethos-based API. Or you could use the ILP. All of those would work well with Moodle. So there's really a lot of options there, but if your SIS is hosted in the cloud, that's no reason that you can't take advantage of a lot of the functionality that we've described here and have that real-time integration with Moodle.
That's great. Yeah, thanks, Cheryl. I think that should answer the question that came in. And another question that came in, you just referenced actually what I'm going to ask next, which was ILP. So we have, so the question basically is, how does that work? Can they use ILP, and how does that work? And before I let you answer that, I will say that we've had many clients over the years that have come to us that had been using ILP that have dropped using ILP as part of for integration purposes and have moved to our direct connection. We've had clients that have come on and initially used ILP and then switched, but I think we still have some clients that started with ILP and remain there. So Cheryl, can you just talk about kind of how that works and what's different about that?
Sure. Yeah. The ILP is obviously an Ellucian product that offers sort of similar functionality, and the reason we see schools maybe choosing to use the ILP is because of the functionality linked to the Ellucian portal. And so if you're heavily invested in the Ellucian portal and a lot of the features there, the ILP is perhaps a more attractive solution. If you're not invested there or you have flexibility, then using our Direct Connect or API integration is often a more flexible solution that puts you a little bit more in the driver's seat of how we want things controlled and things done. So there's definitely pros and cons on both sides, and our team of experts here at eThink are happy to sit down and talk through those. We have a number of clients who've started with us, continuing to use the ILP because it's what they've been comfortable with, and then have transitioned to using one of our Direct Connect integrations maybe 6 months or a year into the contract once they have the initial go live done. So that's another good option as well.
And Cheryl, I'll throw in on top of that as well, the one caveat with the ILP comparative to our integration is that you need to be comfortable with staying a version or two behind on Moodle. Ellucian does a great job of keeping up and developing the plugins and the connection for the ILP, but they're always a version or two behind, whereas the direct database connection, one, we're obviously working with Moodle more directly and we can move a little bit faster, but there's just a little more involved in making sure that the SIS and the portal part of it all continue to talk together while changes are made to the plugin. So we typically will see our clients who use the ILP to stick behind on the LTS version of Moodle. And that's great. It's fine. It's supported. There's security there, but just know that you're not going to get the latest and greatest features in Moodle as quickly as if you are using or not using the ILP.
Excellent. Yeah, very good. I think it's just important to emphasize that we give our clients options, and as Cheryl said, we help them weigh the pros and the cons of what those different options are. but it doesn't impact if somebody wants to use ILP. There's no difference in cost for that. If somebody wants to begin with ILP and then switch to our direct connection, we've done that again without additional costs. So we give our clients options. Those options can change over time, or I should say, which option you elect can change over time. So a lot of flexibility there in terms of what makes the most sense for each individual school. I think the last question I see at the moment, at least, that I'll put to the group here now and answer in part myself to begin, is just relating to the process of migrating and implementing and how getting integration set up and works as part of an implementation process. So I talked earlier about how we've had in the neighborhood of 200 clients move to us in the last few years. More than 100 of those have come from other Moodle providers, and many of the rest either implementing Moodle for the first time. That's true of many of our corporate clients, but our college and university clients, many that had been self-hosting. That process takes between 8 and 12 weeks, most typically, from the time that somebody signs on with us to the time that we have them live in a production environment. It's, as I said, a very tried and true process at this point. But either Cheryl or Jesse, does one of you want to just speak about a little bit kind of how the setup and testing related to the integration works during that process?
Sure, yeah. So typically we start off with a guide that we ask you to review and complete. And that guide includes a number of questions about how you use your student information system and how you want that to talk to Moodle. We'll ask you questions about how your academic calendar is organized, whether you use cross-listed or cross-tallied courses, whether you want all the courses in your student information system to appear in Moodle, or if not, which ones you do, to just kind of allow us to get an idea of what your need set is, your business need for the integration itself. And then from there, you'll be assigned to one of our integration team members. And they'll work very closely with you to set up the integration on a testing site so that you can see it actually working and review how that's working and make tweaks if needed. We'll talk to you about how you want the courses named, how you want the categories in Moodle named, how you want all of that to populate coming out of your student information system. We have features and functionality related to when courses become visible to students, so they may become visible as of a certain date, and we talk to you about how you want that to work. And then once we have sort of a full blueprint for how that's designed to be working, we then plan that deployment into your production site. Often that is done at the same time that you go live on Moodle, but just as frequently it might be done as a separate event, maybe, just a little bit later or significantly later, just depending on your business need and what you think is appropriate. We also work with you on your authentication method because authentication is the method that creates the user accounts typically. And those user accounts have the key attributes on them that we need to link a student to their account in your student information system. So that linking is most commonly done by their student ID number, which will probably be assigned to their account in Moodle based on how you do authentication and account creation, and then used to link back to your student information system to pull out the enrollment or course registration information.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Cheryl. I think that was a good overview of how that kind of works. As you were speaking, another question actually came in, which I'm thinking maybe Jesse wants to take, and I'll just paraphrase the question for you, Jesse, and then let you respond. We talked about ILP earlier, but this question relates to LMB, and this particular school is using LMB to integrate Banner and wanting to know if Ethos provides a persistent queue to deliver change messages like the LMB does. Can you just talk about how that might work a little bit?
Sure. So on the Ethos side, the answer is yes. The Ethos itself does the same type of subscription and queue that we can take the information out of. That is what we're building our real-time integration based off of. It's separate from the LMB aspect of things, but very much the same functionality. As far as using the LMB, we have had clients use it in the past. The problem right now is that Eric isn't maintaining, or at least is not updating the GitHub. It's up to version for Moodle 3.4. And I spoke with Eric actually at the Moot this past year, and he is starting to work on a new plugin to replace it that I believe is using the LTI. So there is some changes that are going on there. So there are options there. We have clients who use that plugin and continue, to let us to host it. But I think that plugin might be going away. If you have information that's separate from that, I'd love to know it. But that's kind of where we're at right now, and would be more than happy to work with you on the ethos aspect of that as well, if you want to take a look at that.
Great. Thanks, Jesse, and thank you everybody for the great questions that have been coming in. There are a couple of other questions that I think we'll circle back with folks offline on. Some things that we can look into and follow up with you on. So if we haven't gotten to your question, we will follow up after this session. I guess to that end, my contact information is here on the screen. If you have specific questions, you can email me, give me a call, and I'll be happy to either work with you to set up an individual session to talk about these things, or just answer questions that you may have. Somebody had asked about the recording. We will share the recording of this session with everybody that registered here today. So if you came in late or you want to share this with your colleagues, you can keep an eye out for that. We will be sharing that within the next day or so. I think at this point we've gotten to the end of the questions that we wanted to discuss here during the call. I think this has been a good session. We packed a lot into it, so I hope this has been valuable for you all. As I said, if you have questions, please feel free to follow up with me, and we will follow up with folks after this session as well to see if we can be of further assistance. So Cheryl and Jesse, thank you both very much for joining and sharing here today. And thank you to everybody that attended for joining us here this morning. And we will look forward to following up with all of you down the line. So hope everybody has a good rest of your day, and we will look forward to being in touch soon.